Hi everybody, welcome back to Noob Kitchen. Today I thought we'd do something just a little bit different. We're going to use gnocchi and pesto and make pesto gnocchi. As you can see in front of me, we have all the ingredients, and I'll list all the ingredients and the amounts above them. All right, let's get started preparing our ingredients. We're going to want to slice the mushrooms thinly so they all cook evening. Most important here, we want to make sure that each of the slices is relatively the same size. That way they all cook, in about the same time. We don't want some of the slices to be done, and burning while the other ones are still raw. So all we have to do is just slice these mushrooms up. And I know some people, they cut the bottom off the stem. I really don't do that. By the time I get them, they look fairly decent anyway. So there's really no need. You're getting to see my terrible knife skills here. So don't worry, if you don't know how to run a knife, neither do I, but we're going to get through this together. As long as we come out with 10 fingers, 10 toes, I think we're okay. Of course, I'm really not sure what we'd be using our toes cooking for. Let's hope nobody does that. If you do, I really don't want to know. And one last slice. All right, all we're going to want to do to our grape tomatoes here is just pour them out on the cutting board, and we're just going to slice those in half. So we'll just have all of these in lengthwise and throw them back in the bowl. Unfortunately, there's no real fast way to do this, I don't think, other than just one at a time. Next, we're going to want to chop up all the pistachios. We're just going to give those a rough chop, nothing spectacular here. We don't want fine dust powder to go over the top. We actually want to keep it kind of a rough chop. We don't. I find if I keep my hand above the top of my knife here, and try not to do that TV chef chop where you're doing this, and you make a mess all over the kitchen and don't actually get anything chopped, I think things work a little better. It's not about how fast you chop, it's about how much you enjoy cooking the food. So we're going to take this and put this back in the bowl here, and whatever falls on the floor we'll give to the puppies later. That is, if they can eat pistachios. I'm not really sure. All right, that pretty much takes care of the prep work for this. So now we're going to move on to the next step. The next step is going to be cooking the vegetables. Right now that we're over here at the stove, we're going to take about a tablespoon of olive oil. We're going to heat that on probably medium-high heat. And we're going to brown the pistachios and the breadcrumbs. So we'll turn this over here to medium-high. We'll place the pistachios in there first, and we're going to heat these up, stirring, almost constantly for, 3 to 5 minutes. Grab us a spatula here. All right. The idea here is just to brown them. We don't want to burn them, so we'll want to stir continuously for about 3 minutes or so. I wish you could smell this. This smells wonderful. Makes me hungry. I wish it was done already. I think this is going to pair wonderfully with gnocchi. Gnocchi, pesto, and these breadcrumbs over the top. I think that's going to be wonderful. What we're creating here is just the breadcrumbs to serve over the top as a garnish. All right, I think they're done. All right, in the same pan that we just cooked the breadcrumbs and pistachios in, we're going to add about another tablespoon of olive oil in here, which is about all we got left, so lucky for me, I gotta go shopping tomorrow. Now we'll add the mushrooms in, and we will also add, after that, after we let those mushrooms cook about 2 minutes, 2 to 4 minutes we'll say, we'll put them in a flat layer on the bottom. Then we will add in the tomatoes. And never grab in the pan like that unless you have asbestos hands, which I seem to somehow have developed. All right, the thing here that we want to do is make sure that they're all cooking in an even layer, or as even as you can get it. You know, get all the big ones down on the bottom there. And now we don't want to touch that for about 4 minutes, and we'll let that cook. As that cooks, they'll start to turn colors, and you'll notice when they'll turn to that grayish color when they're done. All right, now that we've let the mushrooms cook down about 4 minutes, we're going to go ahead and add in the sliced tomatoes and stir that around and add a little salt and pepper for seasoning, and I think we should be good to go. All right, we're going to go ahead and add just a pinch of red pepper flakes to that, and just give it a little bit of oomph, a little bit of heat to keep us awake at night here. I know it's been cold these last few days, so I think that extra heat's going to help us. Let that set and sweat down those tomatoes just a little tiny bit there. Now keep in mind we're only going to be cooking these about 2 minutes, so you're going to want to time out your gnocchi here pretty soon. Get the pot on the stove and start boiling the water. Unfortunately, I can't do the pot of water on the stove at the same time with this, or I won't be able to film it. All right, when it gets to about that consistency, I think we're going to be done here. We don't want to end up with a pan of mush. We want this to still be, you know, just a little bit solid as far as the tomatoes go. So we'll go ahead and turn off the heat there, and we'll move on to cooking the gnocchi. All right, now that we've added the gnocchi to the water, we're going to want to make sure that we stir it just a little bit here. Gnocchi has a little bit of a tendency to stick together, so we want to make sure that we have it all stirred so it's separated there. Since this is fresh gnocchi, and in fact I don't know that you can buy any other kind, we're going to want to let that cook for only about 3, at the maximum 4 minutes, but 3 minutes is preferable. So we'll let this come back to a boil, and as it does that, I'll come back to you when you're ready to drain. All right, it looks like we're coming up to just about done here. You can tell the gnocchi's done when it starts to float to the top. It always floats up to the top when it's done, so it's easy to tell. Looks like we are done. All right, let's switch off the heat, and I'll take it over to the stove, or to the, not the stove, to the kitchen sink, and we'll drain it. Now that we've drained the gnocchi, we have it ready to go here, and while it's still hot, we'll turn this up to probably a medium-high heat, and we'll add that gnocchi in to our already cooked mushrooms and tomatoes. We're going to want to stir this constantly for about 1 to 2 minutes while it cooks here. And then we'll add our pesto and mascarpone cheese to it. Now you want to use just a little bit of care when you're stirring this. You don't want to, mash up the gnocchi too much, as well as the tomatoes. Doesn't that look good? Man, I cannot wait to eat that. All we're doing here is we're picking up a little bit of that pan fond from the tomatoes and the mushrooms. And it's getting on the gnocchi. That's going to give it that caramelization on there. It's going to really, really, really be good. All right, that's been going about 1.5 minutes now or so. I think we're just about ready to turn the heat on that off. We want to make sure we turn the heat off before we add everything else, so we'll burn the cheese and the pesto here. All right. Let's move that out of the way. Okay, first we'll add the mascarpone cheese. We'll get that stirred into there so that it can melt. Now we're going to add about a 1/4 cup of water to this. And we will add the pesto next. Now ideally you'd want to save about a 1/4 cup of water out of your gnocchi while you were cooking it, but unfortunately I forgot to do that, so we're just going to use just regular hot water that we had here. Luckily I just had the tea kettle going, so we had some hot water. All right, and there we have the gnocchi pesto. Now we're going to take it over and plate it up real quick, and I'll show you what that looks like. All right, cooking this has made me hungry. I can't hardly wait to plate this up and try it out. I wish you guys could smell this. This smells wonderful. You get that fresh pesto. I buy my pesto just in the tube at the store, but if you wanted to, you could make it easy enough out of olive oil and basil. All right, now we're going to add a little bit of this, a little bit of our cooked breadcrumbs to the top. And we'll add a little bit of our grated cheese. And there you have it. Pesto gnocchi. Let's try just a little bit of this that we've got here. Oh, now that's vegetarian that I could get into. So remember, it's not that you're a professional chef or not. It's not whether you're taking cooking lessons. It's whether you enjoy cooking the food. So cook to enjoy. Cut slow, keep all your fingers, and have a good time. Till I see you next time. Thanks for stopping by.